Everybody. My name is Marta Margiel and I represent the organization committee.
And my name is Joanna Stelmaszak.
And we have a great pleasure and honor to welcome you to the third day of the International Congress on the Education Quality here in Katowice at the University of Silesia. The Congress is a new concept of an annual meetings which are devoted to the quality of education in higher education sector. Our goals are to share the ideas, to share the experiences, exchange good practices, create joint projects, and work together on everlasting improvement of the quality of education. The event is being organized by 7 Silesian universities. University of Silesia in Katowice as the project leader this year, Karol Szymanowski Academy of Music, Academy of Fine Arts, Jerzy Koguczka Academy of Physical Education, Silesian University of Technology, Medical University of Silesia, University of Economics.
2 previous days of the Congress were devoted to different aspects of the quality of education. Today's event is crucial because it has an international dimension. We welcome representatives of authorities of the University of Silesia in Katowice, as well as the representatives of the management board of the partners institutions. It's a great honor to greet initiators of this event. We warmly welcome all participants, especially we would like to warm participants from international universities. And we also want to thank you, those representing universities from over 1,000 university countries. We would like to thank the representatives of our partners universities who implement numerous projects together with us for their presence at this special event. It is our great pleasure to greet all of you.
Let me briefly summarize today's agenda. We will start with keynote speaker session. After the conference part, we invite you to a coffee break. At 11, a debate will begin, and it will be moderated by Marta Mamet-Michalkiewicz. Those of you who have chosen the Sphinx workshops are invited to room BO38, where the workshop leader will be waiting for you. Lunch is planned about 12:30, and it will last about an hour. Afterwards, we invite you to the workshop session. The aim of the workshop session is to present the outcomes, to present the results of the projects which are being implemented in the international partnerships, in the consortia that you are representing also. The second workshop part, because we have 2 of them, will take place from 3 to 4 p.m. And after the workshops, all of you are more than welcome to take part in the networking session, poster session, and we also would like to invite you to exhibition zone. And it will be followed by the closing ceremony of this great international congress. What is more, during the whole day, you can see the exhibition, which was created by Professor Bogusław Dziadzia from the Faculty of Arts and Educational Science from our university. And the title of the exhibition is Subjectively About Women.
Now we would like to hand over the floor to Katarzyna Trenda, the Vice Rector for Education and Students of University of Silesia in Katowice.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, all our guests here on International Congress on Education Quality. It's a great pleasure to be here with you. As Marta and Asia said, as I said yesterday at the official inauguration of the Congress, the organization of such an important event was possible only thanks to the cooperation of all 7 universities in Katowice, and all people who you can see here and who you meet all the time during the Congress, and you have the contact before the Congress. Thank you very much for your work. Congress is an annual meeting of all academics who want to prepare students to understand themselves and the world around them. We want our students to be open-minded as best as possible in their professional life and be socially sensitive and committed. Dear guests, you have come here from dozens of universities worldwide with whom we carry out various educational projects. Or we are still cooperating informally, but we are sure we will conduct such projects together. Thanks to your commitment, we will be able during this Congress to hear about the results of your cooperation, and by getting together as a group of people working on different problems, we have a chance to get to know each other on a project-by-project basis, which we hope will result in further activities and friendships. Looking around this room, I see so many familiar faces and all people who are sincerely interested in what we will talk about today. So thank you very much for your being here and for your commitment. Thank you.
We are more than happy to start the keynote speaker session. So I kindly ask Gino Frezza from University of Salerno to deliver his speech. The floor is yours.
Good morning. I am very grateful to the organizer and the Polish friends of this important international Congress for the invitation that honors me and above all the University of Salerno. In particular, I would like to thank two dear friends, Marta Margiel and Eva Jarasz. Thank you. Now, my speech. The change in education and research horizons in European universities. The development and dissemination of digital media ecosystems has produced several big changes in training and education practices. This happened within the universities, but also through the overall landscape of education in a technologically and socially advanced society. Summarizing indicatively the factors of change, this can be indicated as follows. A. The development of the internet and the communication networks changed the quantity and the quality of information and knowledge sources that can be transmitted. This factor had visible consequences on the authority and the reliability of information that circulates online, but especially offline. B. The traditional institutions of knowledge and transmission of science, schools, universities, research centers, etc., have encountered great difficulties in assessing the new situation. They have also often underestimated the social changes that occurred, and they gave inadequate responses. C. The diffusion of alternative information networks on the internet profoundly changed the vertical structures of knowledge diffusion, structure based on the descent between teacher or professor and students. This change favored a horizontal structure based on an equal position between educator and learners, in which knowledge is presented more as an opinion or possibility, or often as a specific case, rather than as a stable and undisputed fact of knowledge. D. Multimedia networks and platforms favored the birth of new ways of transmitting knowledge, hypertextuality, multimedia sharing, participation, a temporality that is not closed but open between connection and disconnection, etc. Their use puts into question the ability of knowledge based on the primacy of alphabetic culture, language writing, textuality, scientific knowledge, primacy of the magister, etc. A. The forms of education based on the knowledge of alphabetic cultures changed. They are affected by changes that go towards the centrality of multimedia knowledge. This kind of knowledge is based on the interaction between different codes and languages, that is, between cultural heritage and repertoire, archives, social memories, etc., different from each other. And then we have difficulties. In primary school and in the preparatory school for higher education, the difficulties to overcome are very clear and significant. One, the authority and the authoritativeness of teachers have been radically questioned for several reasons. A, on the one hand, the generational difference between teachers and the students has been accentuated. It shows the difficulties due to the culture in which the teachers themselves were trained before, and now they are almost always unprepared for the new situation created by the spread of digital networks. On the other hand, the cultures, sources, and the methods typical of digital practices with which knowledge is spread among young students make them potentially, and often really, more informed than teachers on the methods and the repertoire of knowledge in the networks. B, the difference between teachers and students is not only a quantitative measure, but a qualitative measure. The gap between the vertical mode of knowledge and the horizontal and participatory modality based on emotional data and the passion for knowledge and the typical of the net culture of new generations is not bridged. 2. An evident and critical aspect has emerged: the need to transmit to the new generations the basis, foundations, and the lines of the development of historical and traditional analogic cultures, art, history, literature, humanities such as philosophy, science of antiquity, psychology, sociology, etc., logical scientific sciences, and their dynamics of historical development between the modern and contemporary age. This should be made according to the rhythms and ways in which didactic processes suddenly found themselves immersed in specific areas of digital cultures. But there are some really critical consequences. A, the new generations have taken away value and do not understand exactly that it is vital for themselves to acquire forms and meanings of analogical historical cultures to better live and select the data and perspectives of the same digital cultures. B, it is necessary to highlight to the new generations that knowing how to immerse themselves in previous cultures is not indispensable for understanding the current scenarios of social communication, but it is also a source of great pleasures and is essential to mend the empathic and passionate relationship between educational growth and personal vocation. The search for didactic forms conforming to the methods and the characteristic of the transmission and the formation of digital networks must consider these elements. A, the possibility for students to configure themselves as prosumers, protagonist producers who act in training practices not only as recipients but as builders of their own identities in knowledge through collaborative and fully participatory training spaces. B, a full understanding of the possibilities and the mechanism of the media and the digital world can and must take place not by separating traditional cultures and the digital cultures, but by aiming at the integration between traditional educational paths and innovative educational paths. The question is, are there practicable ways to do this? Our hypothesis is that immersing students in the experience of use and knowledge of traditional media, in particular cinema, comics, fiction, etc., can greatly help in the development of skills and practices useful for the integration between traditional and innovative training. The teaching of the practices and of audiovisual languages, cinema, comics, video games, etc., and the contemporary focus of the digital practices that students perform daily on the net, often unconsciously, being closer to the daily life of students, have the quality of developing skills essential to revitalize and enhance educational disciplines through innovative, participatory, and non-formal approaches. The research may be aimed at creating digital platforms with multilinear teaching paths, from e-learning, serious gaming, bottom-up production of audiovisual communication formats, personalizing the didactic processes and offering tools for informal learning with intense scalability. We can therefore outline an intertwining between research and new didactic processes that leads to open education and innovative practices in the digital age. The development of new didactic models can move in two different directions. A. Creative acquisition of tools and skills related to the use of digital media and the effective understanding of the levers of remediation of classical media. B. Production of models of peer education and therefore the transmission of skills through important and new strategic figures, for example, professional figures of strong interest both for schools and for other educational institutions, for example, the media educator. These interventions, on one hand, put in place a new model of teaching skills related to digital media. On the other hand, they can train trainers, those professionals specifically linked to the field of media education in the digital age. What priorities arise for university education? 1. Countering skills gaps and imbalances. To respond to this priority, methodologies based on educational programs specifically dedicated to media education must be designed. They could be developed on two levers. Train educators, transfer the knowledge to educators to teach the principles of digital media through professional figures such as the media educator, teaching what digital media are through horizontal pedagogical logics aimed at the production of knowledge and the skills that can be used in the world of contemporary communication, social media, communication by sound images, virtual reality and immersive videos, etc. To promote internationalization, the priorities highlighted above are responded to organize multiplier events aimed at developing new educational models both online and offline. At least a double response method can be envisaged. The creation of online tools for the exchange of skills between partners of new education projects, and finally, the creation of multiplier events aimed at developing the connection between the different innovative experiences put in place, showing the results obtained from the individual actions undertaken. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to invite Mr. Emre Erol from the Sabancı University, Turkey. sorry for mistake.
So could we please invite Mr. Loisa Semel from European University from Cyprus to present your speech. The floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. It's lovely to see you here. Allow me to do some introductory comments as far as this conference. I have visited Poland another 4 times. This is my 5th time in your country. And I believe that you deserve to be less humble in what and how you demonstrate the importance of this conference, but also how significantly advanced you have secured its development, but also its organization. You all deserve a very great applaud, and I'm very excited being here. So thank you once again all for organizing this conference and inviting me here. I feel very honored to be here. I will be presenting today, as you might have seen in the schedule of the conference, a number of success stories that we consider at European University Cyprus have high impact as far as internal quality assurance academic practices at our university. I will do so not in terms that these are not implemented in universities here in Poland and elsewhere, but as part of the vision of this excellent conference for the international exchange of quality and quality assurance practices in higher education, from which all of us can reflect and benefit from. So I'm humbly presenting these practices. Hopefully they will provide reflection for you and possible notes for discussion later on. As noted yesterday in the panel discussion in the morning, universities should maintain their autonomous sovereignty and control on their own decision-making based on the diversity of purposes and missions of each university, and that's how I'm presenting today these examples from our university. So I'm presenting some indicative success stories. We consider that they point out the added value of their establishment, and they positively differentiate our university in the island, in Cyprus, but also in the larger area. You have an overview of what I will be presenting today. I'm going to spend average 2 minutes for each of these practices, so to keep in time. I start by presenting our program evaluation review and how they secure internal and external quality assurance indicators. This is an overview of how internally the procedure encourages excellence in academic programs by aligning teaching and learning, curriculum, and other academic processes and activities with the mission of individual programs. The PAIR procedure ensures that the university's mission is met through the delivery of its programs, that its programs of study comply with standards and guidelines in the European higher education area, and that the university's programs, structure, content, and delivery mode meet stakeholders' expectations and needs. This is why you see here that the procedure and the data collected during the process are linked to external quality assurance procedures. So for example, you see here that we do not rest on reviewing our programs every now and then, usually in a circle of 3 to 5 years. We don't depend only on data insight from the university and the program of studies, but also from advisory boards in which external experts participate, but also expert panels and so on. I need to highlight here also the large number of data sources in order to reach the wisest decision in how to change, modify, amend a program of study, and the high involvement also of students. I will come back to students' participation in decision-making processes in a while. These involved challenges encountered in the procedure and reflect on the transferability, possibly, of this process that I'm presenting to you today to other European contexts, possibly your university's context as well. So this was my first practice. We can come back to later on for further discussion. I also present today the development and strategy followed in the professional development of our staff, of our academic staff. Namely, how this is done in a way that it does not aim to the faculty's evaluation. We do not aim to their evaluation, but at its mentoring by more senior academic staff and academic friends. We have developed 3 frameworks based on contemporary approaches in higher education. The development of European University Cyprus academic staff aims at their professional support through a system that supports and facilitates the process of self-improvement by removing its evaluative criteria, thus focusing on the academic staff appraisal and development through helpful and constructive feedback from senior academic staff and critical self-assessment. This allows short and long-term professional planning and development with self-improvement, self-reflection, and recognitions of areas of strength and weaknesses as the ultimate aim, and the process is not associated with any type of penalization. Thus, the metrics used to assess the individual's development, performance, and attainments of goals are of a qualitative nature and viewed within the scope of the individual fields, areas of expertise, as well as activities. These are the 3 frameworks that we use. The first one is taking place every 2 years. A committee of 3 senior members in each department will review the reflection document that each faculty will provide, and there's an appraisal process for the further development in the following circle of this biannual performance appraisal process. The second one has to do with how we support through a mentoring scheme our newly hired staff, and the third one, how we observe each other like critical friends in the academia, supporting each other with reflective notes and support for getting better, for all of us getting better. At European University of Cyprus, we consider that there is a missing leg that would add strength, power, and stability to the well-known 3-legged stool of academic life: teaching, research, and service. And we consider that this missing leg is the faculty's professional development, and we also consider that faculty commitment to teaching and research are its most articulate advocates. So we have established a professional annual development program for all its academic staff, which from last year holds the prestigious Advanced Higher Education membership logo. There's an initial induction, onboarding, professional development for all our staff. It's a 35-hour compulsory professional development based on contemporary issues of teaching in higher education. Then we have ongoing professional development, which aims mainly at providing additional support for everyone in the university, all our academic staff. Like what my colleague from the University of Salerno mentioned earlier, the topic of digital media and being familiar with its use would possibly be such a part of this ongoing professional development. And we also have ad hoc professional development, which has to do with more strategic let's say interventions of the whole university. So if there's a large project We have, for example, a large project running from 2018, which is called Digital Enhanced Learning Project, and this project aims to make all our program of study and all our teachers and instructors and faculty to be able to use the most contemporary digital media, digital learning and communication software and methods aiming at increasing the interactivity with our students. As noted yesterday in the panel in the morning, the highest responsibility of a university is its own students. We exist because we have students. Sometimes as academics, forget that, as educators in general, forget that actually schools, academic institutions are there for the students. We are the people with expertise that has to be transmitted, that has to be disseminated, and my colleague from Salerno provided some very provocative and challenging ideas in viewing differently from the past to now and the future the way we see learning and instruction in higher education. So quality and its assurance exist in order to maintain the richest student experience. Therefore, at our university, we have established a three type of support of our students, with the student being in the center of our support. Each student is assigned from the very beginning, when admitted at the university in any program of study, an advisor who is called student advisor by the Department of Enrollment, responsible for assisting the student across her or his studies in order to define and maintain track on his academic path. So not to skip courses, to maintain the prerequisites in courses and so on. We encourage students to contact their student advisor at any time during the academic year, but we do have a mandatory once per semester meeting. So if a student does not appear at least once, they will receive a phone call or an email to go to their advisor in order to maintain track of what is taking place and the academic path of the student. Then we have our academic advisors. They are our program coordinators. Within each school and department, students are guided and supported on academic issues by the coordinator of the program of study they attend. Program coordinators are responsible to guide students on all academic matters concerning the program of study as such, including academic difficulties in their coursework, issues forwarded to them by their student advisors, their GPA, their general grades, and so on. Last but not least, possibly more importantly, our instructors, our faculty are those who provide the content-specific assistance and tutoring for any given course that the student is registered. Our faculty maintains regular office hours, compulsory 6 hours per week, spread across the week. We have a flexible way in assigning that. Each instructor may use different ways in assigning office hours, up to 6 hours. It might be for group support or individual support. It can take place on campus, but it can also take place virtually online. And the purpose is for all students attending a specific course to contact their instructor to support them on additional issues concerning the course. Someone would question, so you said, Loizos, that you do not evaluate your instructors, your faculty, you only support peer support, you provide peer support and mentoring support practices. We do have 3 critical moments in our career that have an evaluative nature, but we don't throw our faculty there in these positions, in these evaluative moments, without supporting, as I just presented just now. We provide, as I just said, that we develop our staff in a way that during these 3 critical moments, they will be the best, in the best conditions, so they don't face any drawbacks in their career progressions. So The three critical decision moments have to do with the employment of someone. So when someone is employed, we have a robust procedure with a large committee reviewing the material presented, but also there's a demo referring to teaching, but also research of the applicant. And through that process, we decide whether we hire or not hire someone. The other critical moment has to do with tenure. So after a year, there are two reports that are complemented by visits in the class or meetings with the department chairperson, the program coordinator, and senior staff of the department, aiming at advising for further development and making sure that despite the initial robust employment procedure, during the first year before tenure, there has been enough evidence that this person should be eventually hired. And then we have the promotion procedure, and all these take place through transparent processes. So we don't see our staff get promoted without, in the meantime, being supported in order to be able to demonstrate the best quality in teaching, in research, best possible, teaching, research, and service to the profession and the larger community. Yesterday, again, the term student-centeredness was focal in the panel discussion here. We aim at student-centeredness, and this scheme is complemented with the assessment of the learning and teaching processes and practices at EUC by requesting through surveys student feedback on their overall learning experience. I heard yesterday that something similar takes place in Roderick's institution as well. This is accomplished by collecting data every semester via online questionnaires as a source of information for receiving feedback by students on their holistic learning experience, and not only about the instructor of the course and the module. We don't care only about our instructor. We care also about the content of the course as such, the support structures of the university, the administration support someone receives in order to be able to complete successfully a course. So every student will evaluate every semester each of their course. We use this data in various the analysis of the questionnaires are utilized in various ways, including the process of the pair procedure that I presented in the beginning, ongoing monitoring and evaluation, academic staff professional development, and appraisal, leading to enhanced quality of learning and teaching. For example, the findings of each instructor's report may be discussed between the instructor, the program coordinator, and the management of the department and faculty in a peer review fashion, and if needed, support and guidance this will be provided. Similarly, as far as shortcomings in administration support and so on. The purpose is to guide and determine the academic staff professional development needs. The renewal, sometimes we depend for part-time personnel, our further renewal of collaboration with our staff, our part-time personnel. And in aiming at, this was supposed to play a small video. Here it is. Students sometimes need more guidance than we expected, so we managed to increase by this small 30 seconds visual, because many students, we realized after the first piloting of our survey, they never submitted the data because they forgot to click the last button. So in using that, we managed to increase, as you saw earlier, out to 85% participation of, I understand that it sounds a little bit strange, however, students might, we need to find ways in order for students to be able to succeed in what they are expected by them. I'm at the end of my presentation. I submit another 2 ways that we try to increase our quality among our staff. This is annual awards for excellence. We have it every year, and we provide 2 awards for teaching and 2 for research. It refers to our full-time personnel, and it can be conducted by self-nomination, peer nomination, or by student nomination. At least 5 students should nominate their instructors, and they should provide as many information for the committee to come to decide who will be invited for the second round, which includes an interview from the ad hoc committee. Actually, we had a very nice, after the coronavirus, we had a very, a 2-year celebration, an event for the 2 last year awards, and it was an excellent time of our university to honor our staff for their teaching, but also their research accomplishments. Next time, I should remember to put some photos. And as vividly pointed out yesterday morning, the involvement of students in decision-making, I remember one of the vice rectors or rectors of the university, she was sitting just here. She said in the second round of talks that we shouldn't forget about the importance of student participation in decision-making. And as she said, in many universities, in our university as well, sometimes students are absent. You might not, they might not sometimes be familiar with the need or the reason to be there. Being the vice director of the university, I do have often meetings with the representatives. I tell them that the easiest thing to do is to decide by yourself. If you are there, better decisions will be made. But if you want the Senate, the Department Council, and so on, all the bodies that you participate to reach, decide about you and your program of study and issues that concern you for your everyday best achievement, why to leave it to us? And the professor from Salerno referred to the generational gap. So our motto is having voice, having influence, working together with students. Hence, the university sets structures to solicit and receive feedback from our students related to their courses and programs, the quality of teaching, and the overall teaching and learning environment. We identify in this way issues of and areas for quality improvement, as well as to learn from those areas where quality is seen as of higher standards. Student input is performed in a variety of ways, including student participation in university bodies, including all these that appear here. Our charter has provisions for representation with different quota. Sometimes it's 1 student at the largest level. In other, it's a percentage of the number of our faculty. So this is how we do it. That was what I wanted to present to you. Hopefully I have triggered some reflections on your behalf, and will be here later on for further clarification, discussion, but also exchange of your good practices as well, relevant to those that I presented. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now I'm more than sure that the next keynote speaker is Professor Sukru Talas from Kocatepe University, Turkey. So Professor Talas, you are more than welcome.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. My presentation will be a little bit different because most of the things that I will talk about is through my experience with industry. And as you know, experience is important. It's the collection of your failures. So yesterday I forgot my backpack in the airport. So the day before yesterday, the police called me and said, you have to pay 100 zloty. Okay. So then he said, it's a good experience, right? You won't forget it again. So it's an experience. Experience is important. So most of the things I will talk about, as I said, will be my experience. Hopefully, you'll make something out of it. Okay. As an engineer, I'm not social scientist, but as an engineer, we have different agenda when we are talking about industry and university relationships. This is because we are two different species. Industry is more cost-based species. We are more education-based species. But we can have something in common, especially when it is about the technology or application of putting our ideas into application when the time comes. So we can define two different rivers. One of them is like industry. If you're talking about industry, they are more interested in various subjects, but we are more narrowed down, which means, so if they are interested in producing something, they will have different products, so they will have different projects running at the same time, but we have more like confined ideas. If you have, for example, if you are working on nanomaterials, you're only interested in nanomaterials because you want to advance in your career. So the best thing to do is to do research, go deeper and deeper. But in industry, as soon as you get the product, you stop there. Okay, you don't want to go further down because you have to spend money, and money is everything. When time is everything, so they don't want to spend more time tingling with little things for them. Obviously, for us is more important because our aim is to go further up in academic ladder. So these two fast-flowing rivers, meaning industry and university, can come together without sacrificing, you can say sacrifice, without sacrificing our own important academic achievements. Okay. When I said education, obviously private sector also educate their people. This means they have training, internal workers, their managers, their technicians, they all train these people for things to go smoothly. So they have some knowledge, they have some experience, and they have mostly procedures, standards. These standards has to be taught to everybody in the factory or industry. So when you produce something, it's within the standards and within the regulations or standards of certain products. This could be defense industry, this could be food industry, doesn't matter, but they still have standards. In university, we don't have much standards. Our standard is usually dependent on how much you want to teach and what is defined by Ministry of National Education or what is defined by your university. We are more dependent on these outcomes or instructions. So we have more ideas about researchers, and we have more experimenting towards our curiosity, and we like to play with parameters, and we don't know much about products. We know how to use them, maybe a little bit of detail, but nothing else. Product is product for us, is not for a cost. Well, sometimes. Okay. So I can explain this by looking at a pen. So when I look at the pen, I say, okay, this pen works with spring, ball, and there's a friction, there's a different manufacturing processes. But when industry people look at it, and he will say, okay, I have to use these manufacturing processes, and it will paint, it will have different colors, and it will have different shapes, and he will not think about these small details that we are interested. So what I'm trying to say, we are two different people, we are two different, as I said, species. So everything about university and industry comes to this. University is usually, or sometimes science is for science, or science is for all, or technology. But as you have more involved into industry, this idea changes, this concept changes. But for industry, everything is production. As long as you produce, as long as you earn money, you're safe. So you keep earning money. And also they have broader interest, as I said. The broader interest is important because they don't want to rely on one product, they want to have different products, and with these different products, they want to increase their revenues, they want to increase their profit, or their influence. For example, as far as I remember, there was once Philips, TM's, electron microscopes, and they produced hundreds of them. But they didn't sell much. The idea was to show industry that we are also able to make this TM, transmission electron microscopes. But then they closed it. So they conveyed their message. So they are able to do it. So industry is like this. So when they want to influence people, they have money, they have resources. When we want to influence people, we just talk. You know. Industry can be divided into two different parts or classifications. There are small companies and big companies. Small companies are easy to deal with. They have fast decision making, they like taking risk, and bureaucracy is very less. So sometimes it's one-man show. Boss says, okay, let's do it, and they'll do it. Okay? But big companies, they are more into planning, into resource planning, and also manpower planning. So they have great resources, but they like planning. They're also into risk-taking process, but less risk. They don't want to take too much risk because the industry is big. So when they lose something, they lose a lot. So instead, but in small companies, it's not the same thing. Small companies lose less, big companies lose a lot. So that's why they are very regulated compared to small companies. Let's talk about state universities. Let's look at the mirror. We are slow-paced decision makers. We are not fast decision makers, which is quite understandable because we like bureaucracy. We like putting regulations like hundreds of pages. So through our project, we learned that our university has a documentation on how to evaluate students and how to do our lectures, etc., for 120 pages. So you don't need 120 pages. It's ridiculous, you know. Anyway, but state universities are more relaxed. I believe that accountability of professors is weaker. And we are mostly dependent on national research funding or sometimes private fundings. so we have to do our research. In that case, so we have to work harder than industry. There are private universities. Private universities are similar to private sectors. They work hard, they have to achieve something, but something important, obviously, same as state universities. But as far as I see, as I said, this is my experience, it's not easy to go up the ladder in academic rise, because every time you go up, they have to pay you more. So it's also an institution, it's a company in that sense. So the control of workers, academics, and other technicians, etc., more strict, and everything is systematic, and people answer to first students, then officials in charge. So I had a meeting about 2 months ago with our partners, commercial partners, and at the end of the project, at the end of the meeting, I said, you know, what are we doing? So what can we do? How can we improve our relationship with you? And he said, professors know something, but they are not giving us, you know, they have plenty of ideas. If they could give some ideas, we would be very happy, so they could earn more money. I said, if we had ideas, we would give you anyway, but you just take it away and run away. So you're not giving enough credit. So do you mean money? I said, no, it's not money. You know, so how much you can give me? This amount. It's not important for me. What is important is let's do this together. You know, it's they are able to do many things without our help. Okay, I understand that. But what they are saying is we don't have ideas because we are producing certain products. Okay, so these certain products, at the end of the day, after a certain time, it goes out of fashion, so they have to find new things. So this is their problems. They need ideas to earn more money. In that context, I think that's what he meant. They also claimed that the industry catches up with the university very fast. Sometimes industry is better than university because I think their trust is basically on their machine park, and they can construct and build things faster than us. So we have to buy it. We don't have the facility. Mostly, we don't have the facility to build it, to build a machine, but they have a facility. They know how to do these things. So this is what makes them superior to us, unfortunately. But we have the knowledge. We have the source of money for them. This is from our project. So these people I talked to, they were engineers. So we trained these people. We send them to industry, but when we train them to our best ability. So we teach them thermodynamics, materials, mathematics, and everything. But then, when they come back, sorry. Can I see it properly? Because I can't see it from here. When we did this questionnaire, survey on industry and students at the beginning, they said they like material science and engineering subjects, and they are very much into manufacturing related subjects, structural materials, crystallography, so basic lectures, they like it. But after they go to industry and we questionnaire them, so we question them and ask them, what is best for you? They change their mind, and it becomes additive manufacturing, heat treatment, and failure analysis. So what you teach them is, for us, is sufficient to make most of the things work. But when they have experience in industry, their ideas change. They want to learn more hand-on practice, and they want to know the practicals about the applications, rather, in industry, which is understandable because unless they know these subjects in detail, they won't be able to survive in that environment. So why they changed their mind? Because of the reality. The reality is industry. It's not the university, unfortunately. Okay, these are the companies I work with, but some of them are big companies like Yıldız or Garanti Composites. Garanti Composites defense company. You cannot produce anything with them because it's all classified. Yıldız and Şahinkul, these are automotive companies. We make publications with these companies very nicely, but some Hayes and Garanti Composite, these are classified, so you cannot do anything with them. So this is our problem with industry as well. So when you want to publish something, you do a very nice job, and they say, sorry, you cannot publish this. That's another side of this problem. Okay. So industry is mostly problem solving. This problem solving and improvement is important process. That's because when things going smoothly, the only thing they want to do is if there's any problem comes up, they'll have to solve this problem and improve the process so they won't have, they will have little problem, not big problems, small problems. So this is their mentality. How did I contact university, or how was I contacted by the industry? Sorry, mostly word of mouth. So take care of your students. When they go to industry, they come back to you, and do not offend your students. Really take care of them. And if there is any problem, try to solve it. Try to give your best. And when they're in industry, they mostly have influential position at the end of the day, or 1 year, 2 years, 5 years later, they will have a good position. And second thing is your publication. If your publications is on the effect of nanomaterials, crystal structures, nobody is interested. If it is on application, they are more interested. So they look at your publications. They always look at your publications. And when we meet them, they ask me, okay, what can we do with these publications? How can you help us? So they are interested. Third one is industry experience. This is interesting because when we were in university, when I was in university, we used to have trainings, summer trainings. These trainings would be like 40 days each time, and it teaches you a lot. I mean, in social sciences, it may not be the case, but in engineering sciences, it means a lot. You see more, you think more, you have some innovative ideas through these experiences. And go to these companies and don't try to avoid them. Just go and talk to them. They will always ask for your help, but it's okay. You don't have to help. You just tell them, okay, this will be a very good project. But the important thing is your interest. As long as you're interested in what they are doing, that is another step. You should have an interest in specific applications. Like in my case, I'm more like welding person and composite person, maybe metallic materials. So I wouldn't be interested in ceramics, for example. So have your specific applications or narrowed down or a little bit more. You don't have to know everything, that's what I'm trying to say. So what does industry want? And we also ask them, what do you want to see in us? So when we come together in a conference, what do you want to see? The first thing is they want to be They want to see us confident about our work. We should know what we are doing, not for publication. We should really learn what we are doing. At the end of publications, it's another paper over there, isn't it? But it's not what they want. They really ask questions, content of our work. And they said, produce something that works. Could be patent, could be machine or small things. You know, you can always show them, look, this is what I did. Oh, sorry. And you should have your industry collaboration groups as much as possible. If you have books and chapters, they are really happy to see these outcomes. But what is more important is that how we change through this collaboration. Our research becomes more practical. So our papers become more practical, have more practical side to it. And we are usually happy with nice pictures and nice documentation, but industry, they are happy if it's working. So this is very good idea. And industrial projects are more satisfactory. Our study becomes more superficial, more focused. We spend less time for pure academic studies. So industrial applications, in this case, paying you, but not to make you rich. Just enough for, yeah, alive, exactly. But we shouldn't forget that professors are there because courses are usually fun. It is important that when you're doing your course, you give practical examples. When you give, for example, in thermodynamics, if you just tell them that this is the equation, that's it, I'm done, it's gone. One month later, maybe 1 hour later, they won't remember anything. But if you give them example, they will remember. This is an advantage of working with university. So industry projects are more specific, and we like to work on more parameters, but they are less interested in parameters. So what's important is your credibility, have practical knowledge of what's in industry and in your interest, and you should be expressing your interest and willing to share your knowledge, because these opportunities doesn't come that often. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And most importantly, you should share with limits. You should have your limits. Not everything is able to share it. So you shouldn't be sharing most of the things, but as much as you can. As much as you can. Okay, at the end of the day, this is me. So with industry, you don't get much, but satisfaction. So this chair represents your academic elevation. So this is you, with industry, you sit on a higher chair. You're more interested in academic position, social status. Economic, it's not there, but social status is there. Oh, 24 minutes, I'm very sorry. Sorry. Okay, thank you for listening. Sorry.
Now I'm more than happy to introduce Mr. Bartłomiej Wróblewski from Charles University Prague, Czech Republic. The floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure, it's an honor. Thank you, Magda, thank you, Marta, the organizers. And I think Yeah, I'm getting a bit emotional because my phone is, my smartwatch is buzzing, telling me to relax. So probably let's begin. Ladies and gentlemen, as some of you may already know, teaching was actually the main function of universities until the late 19th century. Then there was a change, Humboldtian educational ideal, and this significantly increased the relevance of research. And it regarded teaching a little bit as a second-class activity, unfortunately. And right now there are so many universities, including Charles University, that are research-focused, research-based. And we know that research is very important, but we would like to increase the relevance of teaching again. And we are trying to do that at Charles University right now. This is actually one of our key priorities in our strategic plan for the years 2021-2025. And one of our ideas is to establish Pedagogium, which is a pedagogical skills enhancement center that I would like to talk about today. Before I begin, I just wanted to tell you that this is actually our first idea, our first concept, and we will be working on that for a very long time. This is just the beginning of this very long and difficult journey, but we have started talking, and I think that's what's important, that something has started. So I divided this presentation into 4 main points. First, I will give you the idea what Pedagogium actually is. So I will give you some basic information. Then I will focus on our pedagogical skills enhancement program, so our basic training and teaching that we would like to offer at Charles University in Prague. Then I will introduce you to the idea of badges, statuses that we are planning to introduce at Charles University. And finally, I will give you some information how we would like to provide further support and how we would like to actually increase motivation in our teachers to develop their teaching competencies. So this is one of our goals. So what Pedagogium actually is, or will be, it's a plan, it's a plan. We would like it to be an advisory organ for the university authorities that will aim to support the enhancement of pedagogical skills at Charles University. It will be a network of people, so that's why you see this picture in the slide. A network of teaching enthusiasts from Charles University, from different faculties at Charles University. Charles University is huge. I don't know if you know, we have 17 different faculties. Many people, it's impossible to know each other. And we would like to connect those people. So this is our main goal. If we don't create this network, if we don't let them meet each other, it won't work. So we would like to create this network for people. Who is this for? Obviously, this is an advisory organ, an advisory body, so it needs to be experts in the field of education. Of course, the membership will be limited. It will be decided by the rector, who is on the board. However, within this platform for experts, we are planning to open many interest groups. And these interest groups will be open to anybody who is interested to cooperate. So we are actually hoping that as many people will join so that we create this network, this spider web at Charles University. That's actually our goal. So about those interest groups, we want Pedagogium members to identify their areas of interest, what they actually want to focus on in the field of education. It can be anything they want. It can be motivation, how to evaluate students, special needs students, e-learning, blended learning, whatever they like. We want them to do something they like, obviously, so that they do it with pleasure. And they, when they identify their interests, they know where to find colleagues with similar interests. That's how we would like to start. Then they can create interest groups, which will be voluntary units, functioning at Charles University, and these can be joined by anybody who is interested. And we would actually like Pedagogium members to involve PhD students in their work, because we would like to raise awareness of quality teaching amongst our youngest academics. We would like to start with young generation that maybe in 10, 20, 30 years something will change, hopefully. Those interest groups, they can meet as many times as they need, obviously. This is up to them. But the board, the advisory organ, we believe they will meet twice a year. The first meeting will be an internal meeting in the autumn or winter, and the second meeting is a conference, so open to anybody, once again, connections, network, but organized by Pedagogium. The first meeting, here, Pedagogium members, they will discuss the forthcoming conference. They will decide on the content, on the keynote speakers, main topic, what they want to focus on. So, of course, they decide on that. They will also prepare the content and the evaluation criteria of our new pedagogical skills enhancement program, which I will be talking about in a moment. And whenever needed, they will also grant those badges and statuses that I will be talking about in a moment. The second meeting, that's international conference, eventually international, let's, small steps, and then, but we hope eventually it will be an international conference. Pedagogium members, we would like them to, of course, participate actively. We would like them to be the speakers, to share their knowledge, share their expertise, make or establish new contacts. That's very important for us. Once again, network, network, network. It will take many years probably to build that, but we need to start somewhere. And here, once again, we see a huge opportunity for our PhD students. We would like to involve them, once again, to promote the idea of quality teaching among them. And now let's focus on this pedagogical skills enhancement program that we would like to prepare. So this will be our basic training and teaching for Charles University teachers. It will be divided into two parts: how to become an academic teacher and how to become a better academic teacher. The first one is, of course, will be designed for those with no or little experience with teaching, so we assume mainly PhD students, new employees, but of course not only. And here we would like to prepare 7 to 8 thematic meetings. 6 meetings will be general didactic topics, which will be prepared at the Center for Lifelong Learning, which I work for at the University Rectorate, and we will prepare those thematic meetings. The rest, the remaining topics, will be specialized topics. As I mentioned, Charles University is a huge university. I visited different faculties to ask what they need. I can tell you it's impossible to meet those needs. It's impossible to meet the needs of 17 faculties. Like, I can do everything, but no. So I know that from the very beginning. So this is our first idea how we can do it at least a little bit. We prepare something as universal as possible, and the rest is done at the faculty. So they prepare those specialized modules that are tailored to their specific needs. This is one solution. There's a better one, a little bit more complicated, but there is one. If there is a teaching and learning support center at the faculty, I believe that right now we have 5 different support centers at 5 different faculties. Some of the faculties are planning to open more, so let's hope that it will continue. And if they have such a center, they can create their own pedagogical skills enhancement program from scratch. So they don't have to use our program. They can prepare something that is adjusted to their needs 100%. And we will, of course, support that because we want them to have something that meets their needs. However, there will be one condition. If they want to create their own program, it needs to be approved by Pedagogium. Of course, there will be flexibility to the faculties. It's not that we will tell them this is the only possible content that you can have, because we know that the needs are different. But we would like to have this, let's say, control measure so that we know what is happening and we can actually guarantee the quality, that we know that it's good. So they can consult experts which are members of Pedagogium. The second program, this will be for more advanced teachers, shorter 2-3 thematic meetings based on sharing experience. That's what we would like to do. And sharing experience means making connections, establishing new contacts. Once again, that's what we want to do. We want people to meet and just talk. We have also been considering organizing 2-3 day summer retreat for our teachers. It would be a nice idea, and we thought, we have already discussed that with different universities in the Czech Republic, that it could be an event for more universities, not just one. Once again, network, contact, let's talk, let's meet, let's cooperate. That's our goal, to create this network. And now very difficult thing that we are struggling with at our university. Should the basic program be mandatory? We have been debating, we will be debating, definitely. It's a very difficult topic, especially when the university is so huge. We believe that it might happen in 2-3 years, that the basic program will be mandatory for our PhD students, for our new employees. That's what might happen soon at Charles University. But as I said, it's under debate, and we will be talking about that. So let's move on to the evaluation process, what we actually want to do within that program. You already know that it consists of general and specialized topics, or all specialized if it's organized by the faculty. We would like that to take place before the semester begins, so that they are at least theoretically prepared for the semester, and then during the semester they will work with their mentor and prepare a teaching portfolio. 1-2 semesters. Of course, we will be discussing that with experts. Here, we would like to prepare a list of 8 to 10 portfolio elements, and we expect the participants to choose, for example, 6, 7, and work on them with their mentor during the semester. So the mentor will help with the teaching. Here we suggest, for example, preparing lesson plans, post-observation reflections, co-teaching reflections, peer supervision summary, self-evaluation, etc., etc. Of course, we will discuss that with experts, so we will be working on that. This is just our main idea, what we would like to have. And when this teaching portfolio receives a positive evaluation from the mentor, the participant will receive a badge or a status. We still have to decide how to call that. You have the name Teacher Academy, but it's of course a working title. We will be working on that. But the main idea is there's a badge. You achieved something, and we would like that to be visible on university websites, so that everybody can see that, not only teachers, but also students, so they know, okay, so this teacher acquired at least elementary teaching knowledge, and it's confirmed by a badge. And this leads me directly to the next part of the presentation, which is the badges, the statuses. You already know the first one. So the one you received for a teaching portfolio, you prepare with your mentor. What I haven't mentioned is that if there's a teaching and learning support center, the faculty, they have their own program, and this program is approved by Pedagogium. The faculties can also grant those statuses, or they can give the badges. It's not only at the university rectorate that we do this. And the second one, excellent teacher. I know it's very tricky. The word excellence, I mean, that's a very tricky thing. Once again, working title, but we will definitely work on that. What's excellency? What's quality? That's very difficult to define. If some of you attended yesterday's panel discussions, there was this discussion on what's quality, and I really liked one of the opinions. Like one of the speakers said that quality is not, or excellency is not the end; it's just a never-ending lifelong learning. And I really like that expression, and I think that this is something that we will be going for in the future. But what is this status about? And so this indicates acquiring advanced, of course, teaching knowledge. It will be also based on teaching portfolio. Here, of course, much more demanding. And here a candidate needs to prove how they reflect upon their teaching practices, how they have used pedagogical literature to develop their thoughts concerning teaching and learning processes, how they enhance students' learning, and so on and so forth. Of course, detailed criteria, that's on the experts that will be working on that in the future. But what's important is that we want to make this a public thing. We want those people to be kind of celebrities at our university, because we know that the only way to succeed is to increase the prestige of teaching at Charles University. Because right now we only admire people who do great science, great research, but we also need to show that we really admire people who teach amazingly. So this is one of our ideas. And now moving on to the last part, how we would like to provide further support and how we would like to increase motivation. We are planning to, or we have already started working on our teaching support guide. So it will be an online book. Set of recommendations, suggestions, modern source of expert knowledge, of course prepared by experts. It will be a book available at CUNY Future Books CZ. You can see the website. It's our university website with different publications available to anybody who is interested. And what's good about that? Because once again, 17 faculties, impossible to meet their needs. So what's good about that? That this is an editable electronic form, and here we create something general as the Center for Lifelong Learning. We create the basis, but then every single faculty can add their content. So they can add materials, they can add videos, they can add information that is tailored to their specific needs. So this is our idea how we can meet those needs somehow. Of course, we need the cooperation, we need the network, we need Pedagogium Spiderweb for that to work, but it will last a lot of time. But hopefully in the future it will work. And how we would like to increase motivation? Very difficult thing. First of all, network. That's meeting new people and different activities that we would like to organize as the Center for Lifelong Learning. Open discussions. Are teaching skills essential in higher education? Should we enhance the status of teaching at university level? It's not that we will give them the answer, yes, this is the only way. We just want them to talk. We want to open those discussions so that we can start talking about it, because at Charles University, it doesn't happen very often that we talk about good teaching. We talk about science a lot, but we need to start talking about teaching as well. Inspiration Cafe is also our new idea. So these will be informal meetings with experts in the field of education. So not only conferences, not only workshops, but also informal meetings when you can actually approach those people. You can just talk to them, you can complain to them, just be people with those people. So this is our idea that we like to implement in the future. Of course, presenting Pedagogium's activities at Charles University, faculties. Very important, video interviews with excellent teachers. Once again, we want to increase the prestige. We want to make them celebrities. So let's present them at our university. And of course, social media. We have already started, but it's a long way. And we will be working on that as well. As I already mentioned, these are our first ideas. That's what we are planning to do. Long process, very difficult process. This is just the beginning, but we are really happy that something is happening. So this is very important to us. And just one thing that I would like to leave you with today is that start talking about it, because we all need to start somewhere. Thank you very much.
I have a great pleasure to introduce Mrs. Magdalena Bąk from the University of Silesia in Katowice.
Thank you very much. I know we are behind the schedule, so I'll try to make it as quick as possible, which probably means that I will have to speak very fast, which I'm not sure if I'm able to do, but I'll do my best. Anyway, so I will start with a short explanation. I'm not going to present the theory and practice of the universal design for learning, as that would be impossible in 15 minutes, and that's more or less how much I have at my disposal. So this is going to be more like the voice on universal design for learning, and the reason why we've decided to include it into the program of the third International Day is that we do believe that exchange of good practices in that field between the different universities is actually a kind of a key to success. It's one of the key elements that may help us to introduce, to implement UDL strategies into our everyday teaching activities. So that's what I'm going to talk about now. Okay, yes, so universal design for learning, as we all know, can be generally defined as this way of designing classes that make them accessible, that make them effective for students with different educational needs. UDL strategies suggest teachers how to avoid unnecessary obstacles and barriers that otherwise could appear during the process of teaching and learning. Many people associate universal design for learning with a strategy that makes our didactic offer accessible for students with different disabilities. That is, of course, extremely important, and this is something that we are obliged to do by law. Here in Poland, all public institutions are obliged to follow universal design guidelines in many fields, like architecture, like website designs, and of course, in the case of universities, in learning. And even to implement universal design for learning in this basic form, it's still a challenge, and it requires some specialized actions, some extra actions to be taken, like offering a specialized courses, trainings for academic staff that will cover such issues as preparing accessible materials, and also the tips, methodological tips on class design. But the real challenge is, I think, to implement and to promote something which can be called a philosophy of teaching that universal design for learning refers to. And its basic principal belief is that, well, actually two basic principal beliefs, that everybody is different and everybody has some special different didactic needs, educational needs. And the second thing is that we must not ignore these needs in the process of teaching and learning. On the contrary, we must address these needs. Universal design for learning is often associated with two other concepts, the universal instructional design or universal design for instruction. These are very similar concepts, and they actually aim at the very same thing. They aim at making the whole teaching and learning process, product and environment as usable, accessible and inclusive as possible. These are proactive course design methods that seek to benefit all students. And I think the word all must be underlined here, because that's the target of the universal design, that we want to make our classes effective for all students. So, for example, if we use closed captioning of our video lectures, this is obviously helpful for students with hearing problems, but not only to them, it's also helpful for students for whom the language that we use during our lectures is not their mother tongue. And it will also benefit to any other person in a group, because it will help to clarify the content to everybody. Universal design for learning has not appeared out of nowhere. I think it should be rather regarded as the logical consequence of the evolution of the teaching-learning theories. So, for example, in the cognitivist approach, we already have this observation that each student has different type of intelligence, and that obviously influence the way they learn. Also, they stress the fact that students must be active participants of the process of learning, and that teachers must offer a variety of techniques and variety of teaching aids. The constructivist approach, on the other hand, reminds us that knowledge is always closely connected with experiences. And since everybody has different experiences, of course, it also matters in the process of learning. Also, such ideas as independency, democracy, which are essential for the constructivist approach, they're also important for the universal design for learning. And finally, the differentiation of instruction idea, a theory concept by Carol Ann Tomlinson, which tells us that we need to differentiate the content that we teach, the process and the product. These theories and concepts, and many other that I don't have time to list here, they actually share the same beliefs, the same principles, and the basic one is that there is no other norm than the variety itself. It doesn't sound like anything revolutionary new. It sounds like something we've known for years. And yet the reality of most Polish schools, mostly primary and high schools, I hope it's much better at the university, but still there is a place for change. So the reality is completely different. And that is why, because our educational system is based on a contradictory belief. It's based on the idea of unification. So it is our educational system that wants us to believe that if we have 20 people in a class, they are more or less the same in the beginning of the teaching-learning process. So if we apply the same teaching methodology, the same teaching aids, in the end, we will get more or less the same results. And of course, the results will be measured by the objective type of exam, which means the same for everybody. So this is exactly something opposite to what universal design for learning wants us to think and wants us to do. And since we are in Poland, I hope you will excuse me a short historical digression, because this way of thinking about the educational system has a very long tradition here in Poland. Actually, it all started in the 18th century, in 1773, when the Commission of National Education was founded. Commission of National Education is often regarded as the first ministry for education in Europe and the greatest achievement of Polish enlightenment. Well, it was an achievement, and the Commission was created to conduct the greatest educational reform in Poland ever. And the reform was successful, but in a short time perspective. Because the reform was based on the idea of unification. The unified programs and unified manuals were introduced to all types of schools. Of course, the Commission followed the classical philosophy inspiration, and according to the classics, a human being should be above all the reasonably thinking citizen, useful citizen. Unfortunately, the Commission did not choose to follow the sentimental inspiration that at that time became more and more influential in many European countries. And what the sentimental thinkers were saying was that each human being was different, and there were no general rules that could have been applied to all humanity. So according to the sentimental thinkers, the aim, the purpose of education is to make an individual develop her full potential. Well, our Commission did not choose to follow this inspiration, unfortunately, and that was because of the political reasons, because of the uncertain political situation that Poland found itself in the second half of the 18th century. It seemed more reasonable to educate good citizens than happy and creative individuals. Unfortunately, we are facing the negative consequences of that choice even nowadays. And I decided to quote here the words by Professor Ireneusz Opacki, one of the greatest professors in the field of humanity that we've ever had here at the University of Silesia. And his comment on the activity of this Commission of National Education was that what they did was actually a mistake, and that we are facing the negative heritage of this mistake even nowadays. And Professor Opacki was claiming that anybody who ever tried to introduce the individual program of studies at the university knows how difficult it is. Well, these words were said in the end of the 20th century. So fortunately, 2 decades that have passed have brought a lot of changes in that field, and the situation has improved a lot. So now, as a university, we know that we need individual study programs that can meet the expectations of different groups of students. And as university teachers, we know that we need to address individual educational needs of all our students. And universal design for learning is here to help us. It gives us tools and legal justification to do it. And the reasons of all these efforts is so much more than just making our educational offer accessible. It is to create an attitude of an expert learner, somebody who is knowledgeable, resourceful, goal-oriented, and well-motivated. Well, in other words, we can say that this is the definition of high-quality university education as such. And what is more, in order to achieve this goal, we need to give voice and choice to our students. But that also means that they have to take co-responsibility for the process of learning. And I think now, living in a constantly changing, quickly evolving world, we know and we understand better than ever how important it really is. Because this is the essential attitude if they are ever become lifelong learners, which we obviously want our graduates to become. They are often not ready to do it, to take the responsibility for their own learning process, for their learning outcomes. I think the time of the pandemic, especially during the first lockdown, proved that many of our students are not ready to do it. So this is the skill that we need to shape better in the process of the higher education. Very recently, during the meeting in Alicante University, I've heard a beautiful metaphor describing universal design for learning. This was the metaphor of the wall. Let's imagine the wall made of bricks, and imagine a group of people standing on one side of the wall and trying to see what's on the other side. And we will have people tall enough to look over the wall, but we'll have people short enough not to be able to do it. So what can we do to help them? We can give them boxes, of course, to step on. But we can also, instead of that, make the wall disappear or at least become transparent. So universal design for learning is not about giving people boxes, but it's about making the wall disappear or become transparent. The reason why I recall this metaphor here is that it brings yet another association with the title of the report prepared by European Universities Association, and the title goes Universities Without Walls, Vision for 2030. Of course, to those of you who know the report, it's obvious that they use the metaphor of walls in a completely different context. They do not refer to the universal design for learning. They refer more to the walls of academia. And their vision is that universities will have to exceed the walls of academia. And the idea is that the profile of our students will soon change, and more students will choose not to enter the higher education system right after graduating the high school, but they will enter the labor market instead. They will become professionals, they will get professional qualifications. They will be coming back to the universities, but after longer or shorter breaks, with different background, with different experiences, sometimes with successful professional careers, seeking only for the certificate of the qualifications that they've already got, or on the contrary, looking for some new qualifications that the labor market will will require. So in order to meet this varied expectations, varied needs, abilities also of this new kind of students, it's not enough to combine online teaching with face-to-face teaching. That's basically what the authors of the report suggest. But universal design for learning strategies will be also extremely useful. I know I don't have time for a conclusion, so it's going to be very short. I think in Poland, and not only at the University of Silesia, I think it applies to all universities in Poland now, that universal design for learning, implementing it, is a great challenge at the moment. But what I dream about is that we regard it not just as a challenge, but also as a great chance, probably the greatest chance that our education had for years. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to invite you for a coffee break, and we'll see each other here in auditorium in 20 minutes. Thank you.